since when is the word citizen offensive right here in America? Well, Seattle city government believes it could be to some folks. Words like citizen, also brown bag. And Seattle is hardly alone. We have reported how New York's Department of Education has banned words like dinosaurs, birthdays, and Halloween, among dozens of other banned topics on city-issued tests. Jimmy Green is a Fox News contributor. Adam Thompson, civil rights attorney, and Stephen Petro, columnist and author of Mind Your Digital Manners. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
All right, Jimmy, what do you make of this?
Hi, Shannon. Well, so I'm in Austin, Shannon, and I know this is a real complicated issue, so I had to borrow Karl Rove's whiteboard to make this very clear. This
I'm sorry,
is
you can't say whiteboard,
ridiculous.
Right? Yeah, she's holding
It's
up, for
ridiculous.
gentlemen, if you can't see, she's holding up the word crazy written on the whiteboard.
Okay.
Okay,
Right,
so
it's a chalkboard
Beyond
now.
crazy. What do these folks in Seattle have, how much time do they have to come up with these types of bans? And I appreciate the fact that we all need to use language that is uplifting. Even if you're not an American citizen, you are an aspiring citizen. That's language that lifts us all up. The fact that they would try to ban brown bag, come on, is it because they don't like sandwiches, bologna sandwiches? I don't get it. There is language that we should work on to use that is more positive, not misogynistic, not sexist, not racist, but this is outrageous and just crosses the line.
All right, Seattle's Office for Civil Rights, Elliot Bronstein says he told a local media outlet there that the word citizen should be avoided because many people who live in Seattle are residents, not citizens. Adam?
Listen, anytime you have a government agency that's trying to make the public perception of how its employees act by what they say or what they do, it's a good thing. The Office of Civil Rights is designed to protect people. They're not trying to have censorship or limit what people can say out there. They just want their employees, and this is what's important, while on the job, not during their free time, not when they're not working in their private lives. They could say and do whatever they want. But when they're on the job, they want their employees to conduct themselves in a certain manner. That can be the way they dress, the way they speak to the public. And I think if you're trying to put restrictions on how people address the public, that's going to do it in a more respectful way, in a way that will not offend anybody, how is that possibly a bad thing?
All right, okay, I want to bring Steve into this. How is using the word citizen offensive? Are we so delicate in this country now that we can't use the word citizen? Steve?
Well, I feel like I'm sandwiched in the middle here, and let me say that as a manners expert, I write a lot about the importance of language. And there are really two reasons to choose your words correctly. One, you want the accurate word, and also language conveys values. So, when we're talking about resident versus citizen, they are two different words that mean two different things. And I think in the context that the Seattle commissioner is talking about, he wants to use resident because that is a broader term that refers to everyone in the municipality. When I see a Weather Service bulletin, it says residents of Durham County, Orange County. It doesn't say citizens, which is a subset. So that seems to me just the accurate term, resident. When you get to brown bag, I am between both parties here. If people are feeling that it is a disrespectful term, I think you want to listen to that because manners is based on respect and civility. But I think that the connection between brown bag today in terms of lunch and brown bag the way it used to be used as a hue test among African Americans are very, very far apart, and that connection is not made. And so intent and context are really key to our use of language.
And Jimmy, I'll let you address that point. But this to me seems very thought police. Steve could speak more to this, but the way that you change language and the words that you ban and the phrases that you brand, that affects behavior. And it seems like it may be trying to shape a more, important, maybe underlying policy. In places like sanctuary cities, the words are different, where people who are not here legally are allowed to collect benefits or do certain things where certain cities have made that decision. But Jimmy, I think back to law school and that eggshell plaintiff analogy, like somebody who's so delicate that you have to be so careful because anything could destroy them. That's not America.
It's not, and it becomes a slippery slope. And I think that those residents in cities that may be sanctuary cities, they all are aspiring citizens. That's something that they are striving for. So why not use that word to describe it, to describe them broadly? Now, when it comes to the brown bag term, there were brown bags before African Americans decided to have paper bag parties and test your skin color. And there is a real need to have a conversation about colorism and class within the African American community, but banning the term brown bag doesn't even come close to addressing it. It does nothing but, I think, put critics on the other side of it saying, you know what, I'm not even going to listen to this because this is beyond the pale. This is just outrageous, ridiculous, too sensitive, and that shuts down conversations. It shuts down people from listening, and I think that's the risk that these folks in Seattle are going down, because when they put these bans and have them to be so sensitive, you're going to have people then rejecting it and saying, no, I can't go there.
All right,
brown
Adam,
bag, citizen.
Yeah, Adam, I see you
Not a big
shaking your
deal.
head.
Yeah, no,
So-
I disagree, because look at what's going on around us every day with the Zimmerman verdict and the racial divides there are. If you could do things that are inclusive and not exclusive, as Steve was saying, certain terms may make people feel awkward. You go to the historical background of the term brown bag, it has a very negative connotation for people of color. If you can just use
not
different
me.
terms.
Not me.
Well,
Not at all.
but you're not everybody. And there may be people of color who are offended by that. And I think everyone's feelings should be taken into consideration, and not just a limited segment. And if there's a way to do it where it doesn't offend people, why not do it? Because who is it hurting? We're not censoring or ending the use of the term or phrase
promise
bag.
you.
No, we're just doing it while they're in their official capacity while they're working. If they want to say it when they're not working, that's one thing. But when they're interacting with the public and people can be offended, what does anyone lose by doing that?
We got to leave it there.
I promise you, African Americans are more worried about other things than brown
Okay.
bag. They have other issues they're concerned
And
about.
I would
Janu,
just like to
Steve,
interject
and
that
Adam.
perhaps plastic bag might be the better choice these
But you're going
days.
to pay for that in a lot of cities like we do in D.C. Thank you all
That's true.
very, very much. Good to see you.
Thank
All right,
you.
in Arkansas.